All right, everybody. Good evening. Welcome back on board. Thank you for your time. And please, can everybody hear me? Can
Yes, I can
everybody hear
hear
me,
you.
please?
I can hear you.
Yeah, thank you so
Yes,
very much.
I can
So,
hear you.
my name is Shade. You've heard me on the platform today. Yes, and I'll be handling the theoretical aspect of our speaking module. Dr. Agbele Oba is the one that will deal with the practical aspects with you in most situations. Occasionally, we do come up on board to do like we call um, it vocabulary drill. So we used to do that very early in the morning when people are just getting up and they are not extremely busy for the day. It could be something like 30 minutes, and we just discuss around what vocabularies, because people, among the things that are challenging to people when it comes to IELTS is the vocabulary part of it, whereas some people believe um, the vocabulary should be very huge. So, but walking through that drill part has helped so many people to have good grasp of what vocabularies are needed, what they should not stress themselves about, and what they can actually work within the limits of the English that they possess, and it's been very helpful. And it's not just for the speaking module alone, because every aspect of IELTS actually requires vocabularies in whatever capacity. Talking of the listening module, talking of the reading module, or the writing module, or the speaking, every aspect of IELTS, you have to deal with the vocabulary aspect. And it doesn't necessarily need to be huge. We used to use Patrick's English as something to maybe have fun with whenever we are dealing with this vocabulary aspect. So if that's something you are happy to do, it do help people to build up their speaking muscles. So they are able to, okay, this is how to go about it, this is how to move into it, these are the things to avoid, and then it's quite easier. So let's now talk about IELTS speaking module. For this IELTS speaking module, in most situations, it's actually the first part of the test to be done. It's on different occasions, I mean, on few occasions that people used to take speaking module at the end of all the examinations in Nigeria. Around here, speaking modules in the two examinations I've witnessed here, the ones that followed friends to take speaking do come last. And whether IELTS or OET, I had to sit for OET sometimes in 2 years ago in 2022, when people were drilling me. They want me to take them OET and all that and all that. So I, okay, before I take you, before I start teaching, let me just write this test. And I had some money flowing around. So I booked it and I wrote the examinations, and it was quite interesting. Speaking was the last, and I'd followed friends to IELTS examination hall, and speaking was the last here. But back home, in most situations, that speaking do come first, where people will need to go to the examination center maybe 2 or 3 days and write, I mean, talk through the interview part with their examiner. In most situations in those days, pre-COVID days, it used to be face to face. That, but as time goes on, we started seeing that they were doing it virtually. Virtually, not at the comfort of the candidate's home, but virtually at the centers, where they will put you in a particular room and your examiner will be elsewhere. You'll not be seeing them flesh and blood like this. You'll be talking through maybe Skype or Team or Zoom or whichever application qualifications they want to use to take that examination. So now, the counsel we do give to people is when you're sure you booked your examination, you have the date for your three big tests. If at the Thursday preceding the week of your examination, not the Thursday of your examination, in Nigeria, IELTS used to happen Thursdays and Saturdays in those days. Not sure if they still take those 2 days these days, but I'm sure of Saturdays fortnightly. So not the Thursday that your examination is just 2 days away, but the Thursday that is preceding the week of your examinations. If you haven't received your speaking test instructions or information, then you should send them mail before that Thursday work period closes. And if by the morning of Friday you haven't been sent information about your speaking module, you should give them a ring so that they will send you the centers. In some situations, the speaking centers are quite different from the place where you'll be writing the three remaining modules. So once you have your speaking information and instructions, then the very next thing will be for you to ensure that you go to that center. You go to the center with your means of identification. I know. Bear with me, please. So for that speaking module, you should ensure that you have your ID documents with you. Once you have your ID documents, then you just keep on with the time of your examination. We do always advise that you ensure that during that examination, your ID document does not have any troubles. We've had situations where people have problems with their ID documents. Be very sure that your ID document is on and you can use it and they are acceptable ones. I still had a situation where a friend could not take his examination just last month just because their ID documents, these days they said they were accepting in and all. We can't see them accepting the name. Yeah. Are you guys with me, please?
Yes, I am with you.
If that's what you have, you may just want to be very, very careful and ensure that you have your real ID with you. Otherwise, it might not really pan out very well at the end of the day um, if you don't have the one they accept. So don't assume that because they write it in the information that they are accepting it. Go with your international passport. Now, when you get there, we do advise you get there earlier than the time they've set for you. Like if your examination is 10 a.m., get there like 9:30 a.m. I think that should be constant with us. But because of the situation of Nigeria, I've seen situation where someone was rushing to that center on that day and their bike man dropped them. That person and the bike man fell into into the mud in Lagos, and the whole international passports got spoiled. So you don't want to put yourself under that pressure. Please take your time. If it warrants you going as early as you can, please take your time so that your mind will be at rest. And when you get there, they will screen you in. Last I knew, the only thing that will get into your interview room with you is your international passport, nothing more. Even your golden wristwatch, the one you bought for whatsoever amount, is not going to enter that examination, I mean, interview room. You'll be screened somewhere, and then you have to sit down with the other candidates. And when it is your time, someone will come and take you into the room where your interviewer will be waiting, which could be your interviewer is waiting physically or waiting virtually, whichever one. Just ensure that you are there, and then you are very much ready. When you get there, courtesy demands that you say hello to the person you're meeting on the seat. They are not likely going to penalize you for not saying hello, but it's just courtesy, and you preparing good ground for yourself to land, so that you don't start doubting yourself unnecessarily, and you don't give yourself a very bad view, a very bad idea about who you are to your interviewer. So once you are there, and you saying hello to them, this and this and that, the interviewer will ask you to take your seat. Once they ask you to take your seat, have the courtesy also to say thank you and grab your seat. Then they will tell you, this is my name, and they will expect you to tell them who you are. At that stage, you are not yet starting your interview or your examination. Just, okay, my name is Mentor Shade, and then they will ask you to show them your passport, so that they will be sure you are the person that has been presented. They will check it up with you. So this is not one of those examinations that anybody can go and sit for another person. It's an examination that shows. I'm trying to see the person here. I can't see the person. Hopefully the person can hear me. So it is that examination that you are the person to represent yourself. So while you are represent yourself very well. And so the interviewer will now bring in their recorder and tell you their name. They will let you know that when they want to start recording. So they will tell you their name, and they will introduce themselves to the recorder. I am so 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 person. I am examination on this so 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 center, and this is my examiner number so 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 so. So then they will ask you to introduce yourself again and record all those things into their gadgets. If you have challenges later in the nearest future, they can bring in the what they've recorded and show to everyone, or listen to that again, especially if you want to say, if they give you 7.5 and think and you believe what you measured is like band 8 or 9, then you want to call for your papers, then they can bring in the recordings again and start listening to it, and everything will be fine. Now, you have three parts in speaking module, three parts to address. You will address the part one, part two, part three. Part one is all about you, like MTN. Part two is the portion we call the long, what do we call it now? Oh goodness me, I'll come back to that anyway. So we call it the long term. So, and the part three is like opinion about this, opinion about that. So part one, talking about you, talking about yourself, could be anything about you. Could be, how did you get to this examination center today? Could be, did you come from? Where do you live? What do you do? Could be whether you've had a party before. Have you received a gift before? Have you given out gifts before? They can equally name the kind of gifts. Have you given out flour before? Have you given out ceramic wares before? Have you given out expensive gifts before? Have you received, have you been gifted expensive gifts before? when they are doing all these things, just note that once they've started and you'll be informed that they will be recording, it is there for you to display your skill as a speaker, as an English user. And there are many things that will be rated, that will be graded. We're going to talk about how you'll be graded tomorrow. So when you have started, just ensure that you follow everything we tell you here to do them accordingly, and you'll be very fine. You don't use jargons like words that they will not understand when you are taking this test. You continue to use words that your examiner can understand. You don't speak languages that are not acceptable, and you are speaking English, and you are now sandwiching uh, Yoruba inside it. You are sandwiching Igbo inside. You are sandwiching your Hausa inside it, or whichever language that your native language. You are trying to sandwich all those things in. It won't work. So, and down there, you are allowed to speak English just the way I'm speaking. You don't necessarily need to form accent. Some people with so form accents that the essence of what they are bringing on will just be completely lost. That's actually not the way to do your speaking. You go there to speak with confidence. Go there to speak what you've known. This class will build you, will build your English, will build your vocabularies to the extent that you'll be able to stand before kings and not before Mimi. I know you guys are good before, but here the reframing, the reshaping will all come into it. So you will actually have nothing to doubt. So you have the you'll be spending like 14 minutes with that examiner. If you are very good enough, or if the examiner feels or they are comfortable with you, like our Dr. Agbele Oba is a doctor of academics. He has PhD in his English and all those things. If it sits with you and speak with you for 5 minutes, he will be able to say, okay, this person is operating with me at the level of someone who is a proficient speaker, or someone who is a nine bander, or someone who is struggling and can just manage to score band 6. So you have such people assessing you for the examination. So you don't need to do too much other than to follow the rules and be fine. So you may not spend the whole 14 minutes with the examiner. If they are happy with you, they will be quick to discharge you. If you are struggling and the examiner is still finding it difficult to grasp what you are saying, the examiner may feel, okay, let me give this person some time more so that maybe they can prove, maybe it was tension that was making them to call he a she, or using him for she or she, you see. Maybe it is examination tension that is turning brotherhood to sisterhood in this situation. So the examiner will still want you to have a very fair playground. So if your questions are extending unnecessarily, you really have to rejig yourself. You have to shake up yourself and look at things that you can bring into it to make your examiner comfortable with you. I'll tell you this, I do tell people every time I take IELTS classes, every time I sit down with my friends like this to take IELTS class, I let them know when I took my test, I was just doing it, and at some point I really can't remember. I don't know what really triggered me, and I just pushed up and I looked around and I saw that my examiner was writing 6.5, 6, like I couldn't see a 7, I couldn't see 8, I couldn't see goodness gracious. I said, oh goodness me. So, but I'm here just for this. What if I did not peep? And it was at that point in time that I shook up myself, and shook my body, and I was like, okay, let me push up my vocabularies, and I started using reasonable vocabularies. Then I peeped again and I saw her writing 7, 8, 7.5. And honestly, if I had known and I had done well, because at that point in time I was at the end of task 2, part 2. I still managed to get 7.5. So if I had woken up already, like from part one, I possibly would have had a band 8 or a band 9. Band 9 is possible in this class, in this academy. We've trained people that had band 9. And I actually had one that used to pride herself in that she was someone who had some voice impediments. And that was our first person to had band 9. We just told them everything like this, and Dr. Agbili Oba entered the practical class with them and took her. In those days, when you were preparing for your examination, you let us know my examination is so day, so that if you're speaking or if your essay needs to be pushed up before some other people, then we push it up, and so we assess you quickly. You send us the date of your examination. That way we were able to help people, like we were doing those things like we were the ones preparing for the examination. That's the spirit. That's the spirit we want you to bring into it, that we are going there together. So don't take us out of your examination. Don't take us out of the time you are taking your test. We pray along with you. We prepare very well with you, and we believe God to hold your hands and you'll be fine. And so that was how the lady went, and she just used all the tricks, used everything, and she came back with band 9. And after then, we started having 8, 9. In fact, we've had situations where someone had all our results were band 8, 8, 8, 8. The four modules were 8, 8, 8, 8. So it's been quite lovely like that. So when you are done with your part one, which I have given you the examples of, then they move you to part two. Part two, you'll be given a script, a script. You'll be given that one that they call cue card. On the cue card, they would have printed the questions you are to attend to. And so you have the long turn and you have the questions that follow the long turn. Long turn is you speaking all alone. While in part one, your examiner will be throwing questions at you, you'll be catching the questions and you'll be responding to the examiner. In part two, in the first part of part two, you have your questions, which are called the cue card. You have the cue card and you look at the questions. There will be a big question, a very big question, and you have sub questions underneath that. Sub questions us and would be I mean suggestions on what you can do with this big question they've given you. So your big question could be to describe a building that you saw and that you loved. And underneath that question, they can tell you to, okay, name where you saw it. Say what you love about the building. Would you like to live in the building? You know, they've given you 3 things that you can look up in under the big topic. So it's now left to you. If you use them, fine. They will not penalize you for not using them. But if you use them, they can just help you. You know, sometimes it could be very difficult to think on your feet, especially if you are someone who used to subject yourself to examination pressure. So those highlights you've been given could be very, very, very helpful. Those highlights you've had could be very, very helpful to say, okay, that's fine. This is what I'll be discussing here. But some are very, very good at they have the question, they fly with it. Whether they are sleeping, tap them, ask them question, they will answer you. But some of us we have to sit down and reason a bit. So that is just the difference. So in that long term, you'll be given that cue card to study for 1 minute. You'll be given a pencil, you'll be given a plain sheet of paper to jot inside. So you grab your pens, your whatever writing materials they've given you. You know, I've told you you are not going inside that examination with any other thing beside your passport. So you are not going to write inside your passport anyway. They will give you the paper, and for 1 minute to briefly study that, and within that 1 minute you jot down whatsoever you want to discuss. Then after that 1 minute, your examiner will collect the cue card from you. You will now not have access to the big question and the suggestions they've given you. You will now have to use your script, the one you've written, to answer the question. It is advisable that you learn, if you don't know how to, from this moment, learn how to write in shorthand so that you can write as many things, just bullet points, things you want to discuss under that topic. that big house that that house that you visited that you loved, was it on the place, was it on the road to your place of work? Did you go there for a party? Did you by chance mistakenly walk into that place? You missed your way and you got there. Where was the place? Where was it located? If you want to put it there, what were the things you love about the place? What were the things that, although you love some things about about the place, there were some things maybe you were not really very happy with. These are the things that should come forth when you are dealing with that kind of question. Not sure. I think we have a guest. I'm not sure if they are on here. Guest, can you hear us, please? Guest, oh, can our guest hear me? Let me see. I'm adding every one of you to the stage. I don't want anybody out so that nobody will miss the intent of the discussion. So you make those discussions, and the examiner will stop you when they feel you've the time had expired. Then you move on to the part where they will be asking you questions. You have the follow-up questions to that big turn, the long turn that you've done. Personally, I love talking, but in that long turn, I found it very difficult. Some people might not find it difficult. Why do I find it difficult? I just hate the idea that we were two and I was the only one hearing my voice echoing back at me. I wasn't very comfortable with it. So your comfort at that point in time, you have to sacrifice it, please, for what you are facing, for your target. So you sacrifice that comfort. So I had to keep pushing. I had to keep pushing till I survived that area. And I think those are the reasons that I was scoring 6.5, because I actually struggled. I did not enjoy that part. But please, since you've learnt it this time, ensure that you enjoy every bit of it. Enjoy every bit of it, please. Make sure there is no part of it that you leave without enjoying. From this moment that you are preparing, you can make up your mind that that examination will be a walkover for you. It will be an easy task. So when you are done with that, then you move to part three. Part three is the place where they will be asking you series of questions. Could be like 3 questions that you answer there, that they will push to you there and you will answer. And in most situations, they are opinion questions. In most situations too, they are slightly related to your part two. So get yourself ready. Once you grasp your question, then run with it. And how will you then what are the parameters they are looking for when you are doing your writing task? They will look out for your pronunciation. How do you pronounce your words? And we've said it that you must not deal with special accent for that particular examination. Your accent must be what you've been used to, because if you try to form accents, it will just make everything to go south. From this moment onward, just speak naturally, but ensure that your speaking are accurate. If there are words you find yourself pronouncing wrongly, then correct them. I do use this as example. I'm from Ekiti State. In Ekiti, when we want to talk about like wash clothes, we watch clothes instead of wash cloth. So we are very blessed that way. So I had to start watching. I was watching out for how I would pronounce the way I wash clothes. So, because if you say the wrong pronunciation, it changes the meaning of your statement. That is just, in fact, in most situations, it will change. Okay, let's say the people from, I know the people that paid my dowry, the people that paid my dowry, they would say Sister Victoria is getting married to brother Victor. around those axes. Ife, Ilesha, those are the ways they used to pronounce it. For this examination, you have to, because by the time you say fict, fict, there could be other words that were giving the same meaning as that. In fact, by the time you are coming with fict, the examiner could be thinking you are about saying something about fiction, fictitious, or anything. And some people will come around and say the lady is very fine, very fine. Still people around those areas, you have to be very careful. And we know the Lagos people, maybe their own are acceptable now. They will be rightfully represented. They will be rightly represented during the examination. Careful. And where our former presidents came from, they will come to you and say there were pipe fishes in the oceans. So all those things you have to watch them. Actually, someone was from that northern part of Nigeria that had written IELTS 5 times and they kept passing all the tests, but they were failing speaking until they came to us and we had to, what was going wrong? It was just the pronunciation that was dropping our scores. So you have to, from this moment onward, start rejigging your English, start rejigging your pronunciation, start looking out for how to pronounce the words correctly. Dr. Agbeloba used to give us a particular dictionary, and even these days, even if nobody gives us dictionary to pronounce words, just put that thing on your Google and then just put it pronunciation, Victoria, put it colon pronunciation. You bring out the pronunciation for you. In fact, there were words, different words that I used to listen to, Chinese words, Indian words. I'll just bring them in, Irish words, Scottish words, and bring them in onto the Google, and it will just tell me how to pronounce it, and it is very, very fine. That way, you get to know those things that you struggle with, or if you don't even know, by the time you join Dr. Agbeleoba in class and you talk with him for 1 or 2 minutes, he will be able to tell you the things you should look out for when you are speaking with regards to pronunciation. And from my brethren from the eastern part of Nigeria, you know when it is my blood brother, is my blood brother, and you know when to put a check on those arena. So that is one of the biggest things in IELTS, your pronunciation. Then your grammatical range and accuracy. Very, very important. You need to work on uh what's the past tense, what's the present tense, how to use plural, how to use singular. Some people struggle with singular noun, singular verb. Some people, once it is singular, they just keep singularizing everything. And they don't know that once it is singular noun, it goes with singular verb. And the singular verb is the one that carries s, while the singular noun does not carry s. The plural noun carries s, and the plural verb is devoid of s. If you can look at it that way and structure your English around that area, you should be very fine. If you can, just those two areas are the areas Dr. Igbeleoba used to hammer on very, very much. Past tense, present tense, then singular, plural, because you need the concordance, you need the agreement, you need the noun verb agreement in your speaking. If you can get those things intact, then I think about grammatical accuracy, you are almost done. If you are not doing too much, if you are not doing past yourself, if you are not looking at speaking like Uncle Patrick Obayagbon. If you don't want to speak like that, then let's see. Then you need your lexical resources. You need all those words. You need to be able to pull your words together. Coherence, cohesion. Are your words sounding great? Are they well concretized? Are they well cemented together? Are they lovely to listen to? Still I will go back to Dr. Agbeleoba because he's our boss in the academy. He used to say when it is a mad person that their words lack coherence and cohesion. So when the mad person starts their talks or their chats, they start with something like, I'm going to the market. And when I get to the market, I will swim in the ocean. Those two things, they do not in my place of work, they say they are not hanging together. Those two things are not hanging together. There is no way you going into the open market and swimming in the pool should be the next thing to it. If you are going to the market, you are either going there to buy or to sell, or maybe even if you are not doing all those things, maybe you are just passing through the market, or if you are not, or you're going there to see someone. Not that you want to go to the market for the main purpose of swimming. They will not hang together. So your coherence, cohesion, and these are the places we'll be having words that will tell you to begin or to begin with. Then, furthermore, in addition, though, although, somehow, nevertheless, additionally, you will have those words. And really, you should look at your speaking as if you are writing. In fact, when people fail speaking and we look at their writing and they pass, we want them to actually go and contest that result, because your writing is in a way mirroring the way you're speaking. In your head, what you are thinking that you want to speak out are the things you are writing down, except if there are some issues around lexis and all those things. Otherwise, what you are thinking in your head is what you are writing. So the disparity should not be too much. The gap should not be too wide in your speaking and writing reports. So uh, let your words hang together. Let them come together in conclusion, conclusively, in summary. Those are the words you will be using to cement your words together. So you will not come that, I visited the village market yesterday. I got to the village market and I bought yam. I saw my mother's friend at the village market. At the village market, I saw two people fighting. At the village market, I left at 3 p.m. I forgot my wallet at the village market. I went back to the village market to get my purse. Fortunately, I saw my purse at the village market where I left it at the village market. You can see all the village market, village market, village market makes someone sound robotic and redundant. The examiner will be tired of you. So this is the essence of your coherence and cohesion. You should be able to pull out things you can use to replace things. And those are the areas too that your vocabularies too should be able to push some things. So I went to the market. I went to the village market yesterday to buy yam. When I got there, now I've replaced the village market with there. It's now different from when I got to the village market. When I got there, I bought the items on my list. Things were quite cheap down there. Now I did not want to use just there alone. Now I've added something maybe down there. And as people were continuing in the buying and selling, the main purpose of setting up that environment, I've somewhat tweaked the village market to become the environment. I'm struggling to see whether the person who is popping up there, whether they can hear me or not. I don't know what's going on around with some people. So instead of going around with village market, village market, village market, you should have words that you can use to replace. It is the same as when you visited the family, when you visited the president. When you got there, the president was having meeting with the executives, and the president said, so I visited the president in the presidential lounge, and he was having a meeting with the members of the executive. There and then, he signposted me to go to the woman he had married. You may not want to use the wife of the president, or you want to use the wife of the president, whichever way, but you bring in words that can replace some words. That is it. And really, when you are done with that, you need to ensure that you bring in convincing points to your examiner. So convince your examiner that you actually know the information you are supplying them. Convince them with your smile when you need to smile. Convince them with your frown when you need to frown. You don't want to be speaking of, and people started fighting at the market and they smashed somebody's head. And you know, how people started fighting at the market and smashed somebody's head. Ah, your affect will not be congruent. Your affect should be in hand in hand with what you are what you are presenting to your examiner. So put all those things together. Let the examiner see that you are in for the business and you are serious with the business, and you'll be very fine. Then finally, the third part where you will talk about your opinion. It's your opinion. You can push it this way and you can bring it this way. In fact, your opinion might not be just one. So if they say you should talk about corporal punishment for children, you may come up with saying that, oh yeah, this spare the rod, spoil the child, says the adage. And when we were growing up, this and this, these were the way we were raised, and they had to punish us in those days if you misbehave to daddy and mommy. Besides just asking you to do some extra household work, you may have to receive some strokes of canes and all those things. Then you put it. While I believe that this then was a very was an unpleasant way to deal with children, I still believe that children that were raised in those days with um, corporal punishment still got much sense than the people we have around these days. Like, they have the fear of the elderly ones, they respect them. And when I mean fear, I don't mean the one that makes you jittery at the sight of anyone, but the one that makes you respect the person. So in those days, there were lots of respect for constituted authorities than these days that people have decided to spare the rods and they are spoiling the children. So you have two opinions now. You trying to balance it. You are thinking that, okay, yeah, in those days they used to do it. It wasn't a very beautiful one. But even these days now that they are not even doing it, people are coming around and they are not doing brilliantly that like they were doing in those days. People are not concentrating on their efforts these days because they feel nobody is going to spank them, nobody is going to, you know, you put in so many things into all the things that you are bringing on board for your examiner. If you can do all those things, I'm sure you'll be very, very fine and it will be a walk in the park for everyone. So thank you guys for showing forth. If you have questions, kindly ask me your questions. Then we'll come back tomorrow to discuss how you even start. How do you even start? Where do you start from? How do we do the paraphrasing? Because you have to paraphrase the answer you are giving. Then we do that. When we have dealt with that, then I will tell us about the scores, how we are graded, how we are rated, how your band 9 can come into it, your band 8, your band whatsoever bands, what things you need to put in it to make sure that you get the appropriate band. So we're going to discuss those two things tomorrow. We'll discuss the paraphrasing or the rephrasing, and in it, you will see the beauty of vocabularies when we start with the paraphrasing. If you can get good grasp of vocabularies, I would say like 40% of your troubles with IELTS are gone with vocabulary. I mean, in all the modules, 40% of your troubles with IELTS are gone if you can grasp the vocabularies. Because when it comes to listening, by the time you hear some words, next you will still the words that might likely be your answer in speaking in most situations, like in 60% of situations, will be paraphrased. Okay, I met him sitting on the chair. He sat on the chair waiting for his friend. If you even missed the trend, the flow of the information, you hearing sitting and now coming to hear sat, even if you cannot even track what the answers will be, personally I will go with that sat if that's the space to put answer in listening and I cannot hear what they were saying again, or maybe my mind had wandered to uh what's the name of that market in Lagos, or Ariaria in Aba. If my mind had wandered there, once I've had sitting and I am hearing sat, I will pick the sat if that is the space and I cannot remember following very well with this conversation, because in most situations your answers will come paraphrased. Even some aspect of speaking, I mean of reading, your answers come paraphrased. In writing, you paraphrase your answers too. You will see how we go into those things, and you will now say, okay, even the vocabulary for IELTS is not even as difficult as people make it appear. It's not difficult. If you don't want it to be difficult, it's actually not difficult. Who is saying this link is not working? People are in this house now. Bear with me. I want to just point them to the link. So that is that about this part, this portion of speaking module. So do you have any question? If you have any question, please do kindly let me know, so that I can attend to them before we call it a night. Question. All right.
No, actually, I don't have any question.
All right. Thank you. And the other sister, question? Oh, question, please. Question, please. Okay. So if we don't have questions, I think we can then we come back tomorrow. What time is convenient for us to come back tomorrow?
Good evening, ma'am.
Are we good to come back 3 p.m. or 4?
Good evening. I have a question.
Yes, please.
I'm sorry, my network was fluctuating, so I couldn't get the part. We were talking about the it has four criteria, like you said, pronunciation, parameters, grammatical range, and accuracy. I couldn't hear the rest.
Okay. Sister Lydia. Sister Lydia,
Yes, ma.
please talk us through the parameters. I talked about pronunciation, I talked about grammatical range and accuracy. Which other ones did you hear?
I was not here when it was mentioned. I came
Okay.
late.
Oh, so we have the grammatical range and accuracy, we have the pronunciation, we have the lexical resource, and we have the coherence and cohesion, which some people do group as fluency and cohesion, or fluency and coherence. So with coherence, cohesion, or fluency, or whatsoever, you see, when tomorrow, when we deal with the assessments, how we get the grades, we're going to talk more about all these fluency things. Okay? But fluency, you go on speaking without stopping until your examiner asks you to stop. They interrupt you to stop. Is either they interrupt you, or is either they throw next question to you, or just ask you to stop. You are allowed to use words like her, who, but not too much. Not that every statement you want to make, you are coming with her, and because that will appear like you are searching for words. They don't want you to be searching for words. If you keep searching for words, then you are not fluent. There was this brilliant IELTS trainer we have, but he too is on sabbatical for now. We've got some guys on sabbatical because they've got some personal things to do, examinations and all those things, and people writing dissertations and many other things. So when he was preparing for his examination, because he was actually my boy from Tete, like we were living in the same compound, we were very, very close. He used to pick his words, like select his words, and he used to be very slow with his words. So I was like, I'm comfortable with everything about you with your test. But the only area I'm not convinced now is your speaking, because you are slow. In those days, I used to pick fluency as someone speaking fast, but no, it's not you speaking fast. It's you going at your pace and bringing out your points without wasting time. You are going at your pace. Not every one of us that could do quick. Some are doing it and it's very good, and that's their ability. They've got the ability. But some people don't even talk like that naturally. And this is why your natural being should be in that examination. Let the examiner see the naturality in you, the nature, the naturalness, or whatsoever coinage you want to give it. Let them see it in you. Let them see that you are not faking it. Say, all this fake it till it becomes real. Abi, how do we do? This our generation used to say it. The examiner will be able to decode you, decipher you with so much ease. If you are struggling and you are just doing pem, you don't have to do all those things. You are there to bring in your points, use good English, pronounce your words very well, and then go. If you are going at your pace, you will not even have difficulties with your fluency. And so my boy went to and came back with 8.5 in speaking. And I think they were like the first batch of guys uh that did the virtual one, when people were even struggling. Because these days I've seen that people that fail speaking, like, you have people scoring 8.5 in reading and failing speaking, you'll be wondering. And these are the people they have been taken through the virtual speaking examinations. And it is British Council that is doing that nonsense. So you will still really need to up your game very well, especially if you need to up your game very well, especially if your test is being conducted virtually by British Council. I think their recording gadgets used to have glitches, but then they are not agreeing with all those things, which is very, very bad. And the money for IELTS now is not anything that I even want my enemy, not to talk of my friends that are in these classes. It's not anything that I want them to fail, because that exam is too expensive. It's just too, I can't find reasons for how costly that exam is. So please and please, if it will require you to take your class once more to integrate yourself, build your confidence, please do. So we have the fluency and coherence, or coherence and cohesion, which is like the building block, which is like the plaster, the cement of your words. And so I was explaining that Dr. Agbelioba used to equate coherence and cohesion, or incoherence or lack of cohesion, with a madman. So it would say, it's a madman that would say, I'm going to the gutter. I want to carry sand, and I will now bring them on top of my pot on the gas and cook them and make a out of them and now eat them. That is a madman. Those words are not hanging together. They are not coherent. Do we see that me? I mean, they could be coherent, you could hear them, but they are not cohesive, they are not hanging together. Your words should hang together. As someone who's been around here, and we talked about words that could help you to cement your words so that you don't start chopping your words into pieces unnecessarily. You should know when to replace your noun, like the name of someone, with preposition. Is it preposition I want to say? No, sorry, with the pronoun. You should know when to bring she to replace the name of a woman. You should know when to bring gender, the words of gender, to replace the name of that person. You should know when to tweak things around. You should know when to do, when you can do those things, then you will not appear redundant or robotic to your examiner. Do we understand? So when is tomorrow? We kick it on from there. Are we comfortable with what has happened now? Hello?
Yes, ma.
Yes.
Yeah, did you
Yes,
grasp
ma. Yes,
it?
ma.
Okay. Do we have some more questions? Questions? Question. Okay. If we don't have question, we can now go back to our arena, and then we come back tomorrow. Are we comfortable with 3 p.m.?
Yes, I am.
4 will be okay, ma.
What did you say, ma?
4 p.m.
Did I hear 4?
Yes, ma.
Okay. Are we comfortable with 4 p.m.?
Yes, it's
At
okay,
least,
ma.
yeah, people that work morning shift will be home. People that are working afternoon shift, at least they would have finished. I mean, they would have finished medication, and at that time we are not yet ready for evening meal, Abi. So there could be some breathers around that area. So let's come together 4 p.m. We'll be dealing with how to paraphrase. Once you can paraphrase very well, you will be very good with your reading and listening. Other things will just be falling. So we'll be back together tomorrow. I pray God be with every one of us in Jesus' name.
Amen.
All right, ma.
Amen.
Amen.
See you all.
Thank you, ma.
Thank you,
Yeah.
ma. God bless you.
Bye.
Thank you,
Amen.
ma.
See you. Yeah, bye.